Yo. Good morning. We're back out of the potting shed today. I've got the paneling in the back of the pickup and we're going to start putting it inside. We're ready to start putting the ceiling in. I've got a 2x4 with a board along this so that we can use it to hold up the paneling while we put it in. I got 2 ladders, my what's it called, oscillator for cutting around where the plugs are going to be. I've got 2 different types of drills, my screwdriver, my screws. Yeah, ready to start putting that ceiling in. All right, so we got our first piece of paneling in. Looking really good, happy with it. We're just gonna do the next one. And that one I think we'll probably kind of see if we can show you how we did it. Up here I've got a light that needs to go in, so I'll need to cut for that. And we will go from there. All right, let's get to the next piece. I've drilled holes in all 4 corners, and then I've drilled holes for the screws along this side only. That side will butt up to the piece that's already up there, and I want the screws to go in exactly the same place. I have measured everything, but you know, stuff can get changed. So now I just have to drill a hole for the light. So here's what I'm going to use to do my 4-inch circle. But first, I'm going to drill myself a little pilot hole here. I separated the table so I have room for it. What are you guys barking at? Okay, so we're going to get this done here. Find my hole. Mom's just wiping up all the plastic bits, but there's my 4-inch hole. So we're ready to put this piece up now. Okay, the ceiling's done. I got a few spots. I'm going to add a few extra screws. But we also have our first panel in. And I'll show you how I use a piece of wood to measure out where my outlet's going to be. It works really good, actually. So let's get on to the rest of them and I'll show you how I did that. So I have a piece of trim work. What this wood was above my door outside, and so I took it off because it's just not the right size anymore. So I use this for measuring where my outlet is. I've done it before with tape measures and I never seem to get it quite right. So I came up with this plan. So this is what I do to figure out where it is. So let's take a closer look at this. What I do is I take my board and I line it up right next to my outlet and I push it right to the ceiling. So you can see it's right to the ceiling up there, because that's my paneling is going to go right up to the ceiling. So let's put this down. There's my outlet. The board's right up to my ceiling, and then I find the bottom of my plate and I draw my line there. And then just above the top, and I draw my line there. So this is how I know where that's gonna go. And I just put an arrow, so I know that's up. I know, but that's just to be safe. Then what I do is I turn my board the other way. And if it's against a wall, the board goes out a lot farther, of course. And I butt it up. It's a little long. I butt it up to the paneling. Make sure I'm straight on the paneling. Bring it down to where it's going to be. Come on. There I am. Down to where it is. And then I make sure again that I am where the plate is. And then I just draw a line there. Over to the other side. And I draw my line there. And then I do an arrow again, so I know which way it goes. So let's go outside and get this cut. So you can see where my lines are on my board. So I just make sure that it is lined up all the way here on the end. Then I come down here and I draw my line and make sure it's even with that. So that's for the longwise. And now I'm going to turn my board. And here's my other piece. So I'm going to line it up, and I'll make sure it's square and everything. So doing this with one hand is a little harder. So you can see I got it lined up to the side of the paneling. And there's my line. I'm just going to push it down. Hang on. So I've got it lined up with the edge here. And now I can see my pencil mark. And so I'm just going to put another pencil mark here. And that should be my mark. Oops, sorry, moving the paneling. And that should be my mark for where I'm going to cut it. Yeah. Okay, so I've got it all cut out. Let's take it inside and see how well it fits. Okay, I got ahead of myself. We need to mark all the holes and drill them all in for the panel to go up first. So what we're doing is we go every foot and put a screw for now. But to hold it tighter together once I have it in, I'm going to add one every 6 inches for the seams only, not for the center lines. And because it's only 3/4 inches there on the 2x4, because you have half of a 2x4 to screw into, I do it right around a 1/4 of an inch is where I draw my line. So basically what it is 3/8 of an inch I do it in. Now the bottom, I don't have to worry about that because we have the bottom plate and that's the whole 2x4. So that one I just make sure I do it 3/4 of an inch. So I actually use two different kind of screw bits for putting these up. So this is my one that I use around the bottom, and this is because I'm going to be putting baseboards in and molding at the top. So I use this kind of a screw. It'll fit in there and it's a flat head. For the other, our ones running up the board, this is what I use. It's just a straight one. As these are the screws that I'm using. So these are metal screws and they're white on top. And so they just look really nice against the paneling. Now these are 1 inch. I went to get more. I had to get 1.5 inches because that's all they had. So it's important to make sure you got the piece of paneling off the table because I've already drilled 2 holes into the table. Mom goes in and brushes all the plastic into a bucket so that it doesn't end up on the ground. So now what we do is we come in and we measure from the edge of the paneling to the next 2 2x4s so that we know where we're going to put the line. And in this case, because this is a 4-foot piece that's going in, it should be about every 15.5 inches, but we're going to double check. Oh. Let's do 16 minus 1. And 31 and 5/8. So I've got the measurements. We're going to go outside, mark our paneling, and drill all our holes. It just makes it easier once we're in here. So this is our carpenter note paper. And as you can see at the top, I've got my measurements. So the first one is 16 inches and it's minus 1/16. That's just the easiest way for me to do it. And our second row, and our second row is 31 and 5/8 inches. So we'll get those holes drilled, measured and then drilled. Now what we're going to do is mark where our holes are going to go in the center. Mom goes on one side, I go on the other, and we use the screw holes that I've always put in as our measurement. So we're just going to get that done. Oh. You're on the other side, Mom? You can.
Oh, you don't want it in the middle?
No, I want on the other, the tape measure on the other side. That's it.
You want it in the middle?
So we're just putting the tape measure in the middle of the holes, and then I'm going to mark it where it needs to go. So what we're doing right now is we're going to separate the tables where the holes are, and then we're going to drill those holes without hopefully not putting any more holes in the table. There's actually 1 hole in each table. So now I'm going to change out the bit and do the ones along the top and bottom. So here's my mark, and I'm just going to drill my hole in there. What you see is it makes a little indent, and that way my screw fits down in there and is flatter. Okay, now we're going to move it inside and see if it fits. You got it? Yep, I'm coming out. Okay, your way. Okay, push in. Push in and push up. We are good. Okay, let's take a closer look.
You're going to have to do some cutting out, I think, there.
Okay, so I'm going to have to do something around the little hole there and that one there. So I'll just get my oscillator in here and do those, but otherwise it fits pretty good. So I'm going to get it all screwed into place first, and then I'll trim that up. And then what we've been finding is 8 feet. We might have to take a little skim off the bottom, like right along here on the paneling. We might have to take a bit off. We did on this one here as well, just to get it to fit really good. So what I do is I screw it from the top down, and then when I'm about 3 feet from the bottom, you know, sort of in this area, then that's where I'll pull the bottom out and trim it off if I need to trim it off. So I'm going to get to that now. Okay, so I've got the side walls done. The back wall is done. Wherever the paneling connects, right along here, I have put a screw in every 6 inches. Now what I have to do is around the door, and this is where I had to get inventive. Right here, this was a little less, and I need the paneling to screw into this, so I ended up using wedges, and then I marked the wall every 6 inches where I'm planning on screwing in to make sure I didn't put a brad nail into that point. Now on the other side, I had some baseboard trim that I was able to use, so I put that in there. Again, every 6 inches I put a mark, and I nailed in between so I know where I can screw in the panel. So now we've got to cut a strip for each side. Let's just take a look from here. I knew I was short one panel. I was hoping when I cut strips off the other panels, I'd have pieces that were big enough, but they're not. They're like 2 inches short, or not wide enough. They're 2 inches not wide enough. So the plan is to run a strip all the way up on each side to the ceiling, and then get that part measured in between, and then get the final piece up top. And I know you can probably see that little, where is it? Right here? I've got the little dome. I mean, the building's not exactly straight. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna put trim up, and then I'm also gonna put a shelf up above the door, because that's just sort of wasted space. So let's get this wall done and see what else we can get done today. Hi. I am on the last couple steps that I need to get done here. I've got the trim in. Where is it? Up there, you can see it. We'll take a closer look at it. It's a little echoey, I got the door closed. And I'm gonna caulk all the corners now. I've got a few more screws that I need to put in that I've just noticed, but let's take a closer look. So I ended up using 2 flat pieces of PVC. I've got to put the caulking all in down here. And I will be caulking along the little, because you can see there's little gaps there. So I'll put like a fine bead there and get it all in. And then I gotta get the covers on all the outlets. And I just noticed I'm missing screws right here. I need to put in every 6 inches there. And I want to put a fine little bead. I'm not gonna do the floor. I have the baseboards to put in, which are rubber baseboards, and I was going to cut it out, put them in, but I just hate this cement. I mean, look at this. It's just going to be a dirt collector. So we are going to be pulling up the tiling in our kitchen. So like I just said, we're pulling up the tiling in our kitchen. We're putting new floors in the whole upstairs of our house. So I am hoping to get enough tile off the floor. I've got 35 pieces. So I am going to hopefully get enough that I can get in here, and that'll be next spring. I'll get in here, put the floor, so I'm not going to put baseboards right now. I've got the plastic, the poly there just for the vapor barrier, and it is insulated. I was editing videos and realized I don't have any videos on putting in the, oh, I do have videos on the insulating. I don't have a video on putting in the vapor barrier. So let's get to it, and I'll show you a few things that I've done, and we're gonna get this thing, get the caulk in the corners and go from there. All right.
Hi everybody, so it's been a few days. I had to go back to work for a couple of weeks, and then as you can tell, my throat, I sound horrible. I feel horrible. Finally got that lovely COVID, 2.5 years we got it. So I'm just gonna get the switches in here, and that'll finish off this room, and we can start putting the shelving in and getting everything moved in here. So I'm gonna get that done. Okay, all the plug covers are in. It's looking good. And I mean, look at how this is all looking. It's all finished. And I'm really, really happy with how it looks. Now, like I said, that I'd be done. I still have to paint around the door frame, get that all pretty, whatever. But we're gonna call this done for now. And now it's time to get the shelves in. So we got the potting shed done. Other than, like I said, gotta get the paint trimmed. I still need to get some trim around the door to so the cold air doesn't come in. It's cooled off. I mean, right now it's like 7 Celsius out, so it's a bit on the cold side. But it's done. We can start getting the shelves in here. Thanks for watching, and see you later on my mini homestead. Bye for now.